Thank you, friend, for joining me today. Thank you so much for your prayers and support for this ministry. I would like to briefly bring you back to history and would like you to be aware of the warnings that Sister White had made and had written during her latter years. The Seventh-day Adventist Church, after the disappointment of October 22, 1844, continued to search the truth. Many of them came from Trinitarian Sunday-keeping churches. James and Ellen G. White married in 1848, and from then on, the Sabbath, the sanctuary, and who God is, his personality as a father, and he has an only begotten divine Son was established. And Ellen G. White wrote that she is standing the first 50 years, I repeat, the first 50 years of SDA preaching and teaching, the Seventh-day Adventists from 1848 to 1898, the purest and the truth was preached. She's standing on those years with her husband. Before her husband died in 1891, Ellen White married an anti-Trinitarian, very vocal, very prolific in exposing this error. Even though James White was accused of being a cult and Arian, false charges against him, Ellen G. White stood by him. And do you know, friends, that Ellen G. White and James White, the one who proofread each other's writings, are both of them. Ellen G. White was proofread by her husband to prepare for publication and vice versa. This is written and recorded in Testimony for the Church, number 13, 1867, page 53, 54, Ellen G. White herself. So the proof is very clear that Ellen G. White was a non-Trinitarian after she rejected the Methodist Trinitarian during her teenage years. Now, how did the General Conference prostituted the non-Trinitarian Seventh-day Adventist Church and changed it to Trinity worship? Well, in 1904, a year after the apostasy of John Harvey Kellogg, they reorganized and they published the reorganization in 1905. The prostitution has begun officially, just like in 1980. And these men who were rebuked and reproved by Ellen G. White, but use politics and use their position and influence to distort Ellen G. White and her latter years. In the next 10 years, Ellen G. White will be so weak and so feeble that she will not be able to travel and rebuke and personally testify against this man. The apostates, led by the president, A.G. Daniels, the longest serving General Conference president, Sister White had written against his rule, against his staying in power. H.W. Cottrell, W. Prescott, A.P. Nedham, S.N. Curtis, J. Irwin, I.H. Evans. These are all apostate men who favored Rome's Trinity doctrine. As you can tell, as the church progresses since 1904, these were infiltrators, real infiltrators, whether they are unconscious or conscious agents of Rome or influenced by Rome. Their works follow them. Spicer and Evans, these are the apostate men who prostituted the Seventh-day Adventists and established what we now have, the forerunner. They were the forerunner of the Trinitarian Seventh-day Adventist. But it took them 65 years after the death of Ellen G. White to be able to prostitute officially the Seventh-day Adventists. So what happens here, dearly beloved, is that these men, influenced by Rome, and are rather worldly and would like to conform to the world to evangelize. This is the group of men where they groom Leroy Winfrom and the others to be the future leaders in 1957 onwards. Friends, our church was taken over by these men who do not even regard Ellen G. White. They would say something that will appeal to people on public about Ellen G. White, but they disregard and they revised, especially Prescott, Ellen G. White's Spirit of Prophecy. These learned men are conforming to the world. They are lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. They love the wealth and the power using Ellen G. White. Remember, 1881, James White already passed away. And this is where the slippery slope of prostitution in the Seventh Adventist began. You see, friends, in 1904, we were warned by Ellen G. White our religion would be changed. Before she died, she reiterated this sentiments. When I will be laid to rest, great changes will take place. She had warned the people. Reiterated that I have warned the people. The omega of apostasy will come. The first apostasy, or the alpha of the apostasy, has to do with Trinitarian leanings of John Harvey Kellogg in his book, Living Temple. This is now being covered up by professors and teachers of Seventh-day Adventists. They will divide the pantheism and they will not mention that John Harvey Kellogg was a Trinitarian. And if they will be asked, they will say that Kellogg was one of the great leaders of the medical work of the Seventh Day. You see the deception of Satan, friends, here. Our church had been prostituted, officially came to bear in April 1980. You see how the seeds of Aaron, the seeds of Nadab and Abihu, the seeds of Eli had been planted in the Seventh-day Adventist Church through the influence of the spirit of Satan. You see now our church is not going back to the first 50 years. It will not return. But what we can do is call out those people who had maligned the church. You see, why is it prostituting? Our leaders had sold the non-Trinitarian SDA to Rome. Why? By allowing the Trinitarian immigration to be placed as leaders in key position in the General Conference, and distorts the constitutions and impose creeds and church manual and discipline and beliefs by one man or a committee. And that started the Seventh-day Adventist. Using Ellen G. White, reframing her to be Trinitarian, Leroy Winfrom made it very successful, yet deceiving the people. You see, friends, the Seventh-day Adventist today is a whore. I mean, those who are Trinitarian Seventh-day, it's a whore. But there's a mother of harlots. It is the Roman Catholic Church. And why did I say the Seventh-day Adventist today is accessory or has become a prostitute? Why? Because of the doctrine of Trinity. And all the other apostasy of the Seventh-day Adventist Church came to bear. Now you see there are speakers of tongues, gibberish. Now you see there are Pentecostal Adventists. Now you see there are charismatic Adventists. Now you see that there are prosperity Adventists. Now you see there are Adventists that are so corrupted in their preaching that they don't even understand the history and theology of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. They will continue to defend their apostasy. But one thing is for sure, the safest and the purest Bible truth that we can ever learn is the first 50 years of Seventh-day Adventism. Return to the first 50 years of Seventh-day Adventism from 1844 until the time of Ellen G. White, or until before the great first alpha of apostasy by John Harvey Kellogg, who became a Trinitarian. The alpha and the omega of apostasy was Trinity. Yes, that is true. And Sunday rest is to worship Trinity. Sunday rest enforced the mark of the beast. is to worship the Trinity, the false gods of Rome. May God our Father bless you and his Son be gracious to you as you ponder these things. I pray, amen.